Hi, everybody. It's Susan Short with FBTV. And have we got a special guest for you today? We have Sue Phillips. She is I don't know what to say, fragrance queen. Is that what you would say? But she is an expert in fragrance. And all of us love fragrance. I love fragrance. I love all kinds of fragrance. I'm very attuned to that. So, welcome to FBTV, Sue. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. What a delight. And thank you for reaching out. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, a lot of people just know fragrance from going to the department store or going to Saks or going to Nordstrom or Dillard's, my favorite places, or going to Bloomie's. We don't have Bloomie's in Sarasota, unfortunately. You have to go all the way to Orlando. And we know Joe Malone, we know Baccarat, we know all the major brands. But tell us a little bit about your fragrance journey and tell us a little bit about your business and how you got involved in fragrance.
Well, it's over a period of many, 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 many years. And one day, Sue Phillips will be a household name, just like all the others you mentioned.
Alone.
Um, it's so interesting. 2 years ago, a company from Dubai contacted me and they said, "We've been watching you for years. We think you can be the Joe Malone of America." I said, "No, I want to be Sue Phillips of the world." And they took me to Dubai to start working on a fragrance line. So that's what I'm working on now. So my journey is really quite interesting. I think it's interesting, and I think it's amazing what I've been able to do and what America has been able to do for me. I'm from South Africa. I was a singer and an actress. At 10 years old, I was in my first play. I got the acting bug, and then I landed up going to university and studying acting. I went to RADA, Royal Academy of Dramatic Art in London, to audition, and this was in the late 70s, and they didn't like South Africans because of the political situation.
Right.
So sadly, I didn't get in. There were about, I don't know, 1,500 applicants for maybe 10 spots. So they really
Wow.
wanted to choose the English candidates over foreigners at the time. So I came to New York and I was here, my brother was living here, and I fell in love with the energy and the vibrancy and just the whole sort of wonder of New York. And I had then traveled around the country and finally settled in New York. So at that time, I went to an immigration attorney and I told him what I did. He said, "We have 20,000 out of work actresses. We don't need another one. What else do you do?" And I said, "Well, my mother always had told me to have something to fall back on if I'm going to be in theater because it's such a precarious, occupation and career." So I had done a business course and a secretarial course. And he said, "Well, were you any good?" I said, "Yes," because that was my ticket. I knew that was my ticket into America. He said, "Well, I'll hire you. You can be my office assistant and my office manager." And I said, "Well, I haven't done it for years, but I'll go and take a secretarial course and get my shorthand up." In those days, it was shorthand. There were no cell phones, so I'm really dating myself. Anyway, long story short, I was with him for a year. He processed my green card. At the end of the year, I got my green card, and I went to a headhunter. By this stage, I'd done acting at night and so on. And I got three job offers, one for banking. I said, "Not for me." One was in fashion. At the time, I didn't know much about fashion, but now it's different, as you can see. And the third job offer changed my life. It was to be the national training director for Elizabeth Arden. They liked the fact that I could stand up and speak and so on, and they liked my accent. And so I had to go and study fragrance at Macy's for 3 months orientation to learn about the customer, to learn about how to talk to people about fragrance. So that was a great on-the-job training. And then I traveled around the country doing
Wow.
fragrance seminars. And then I was at Arden for 6 years in product development and training and marketing. And then Lancome hired me as marketing director for fragrance and men's skincare. I was there for 4 years. And then Tiffany hired me to be executive vice president to launch and create their own Tiffany perfume for the 150th anniversary. If you'd have told me growing up in South Africa that one day I would be executive vice president of Tiffany creating fragrances, I'd say that's crazy, but that's been my journey. And then I
Where
landed
is
up
this going to
creating
take you?
fragrances. And then, I had my daughter and I started my consulting company, which I call Scent-Enterprises, Scent and Enterprises.
Okay.
And companies hired me. Burberry hired me. Avon hired me. Trish McEvoy hired me. Lancaster hired me for all these fragrance branding initiatives they wanted me to develop. And then, sadly, in 2008, the economy crashed. I had to reinvent myself. So by this stage, I'd learned so much about fragrance. And I started to think about customization, bespoke fragrances, which was a big thing in England, but people at that time didn't know anything about bespoke in America. So I started doing custom fragrances, and people said to me, "What are you doing? Tupperware parties for perfume?" And they laughed.
Uh,
And customization has become a big thing. So eventually, after the, so then in 2020, oh, then I opened my boutique downtown in Tribeca called the Centarium.
oh,
And
where
people
is it
like,
in Tribeca? Where
well,
is it in Tribeca?
it was in Tribeca on Franklin Street. I was there for 10 years. People like Jamie Foxx found me, Katie Holmes, and Daya. I created fragrances and we did corporate events and team building events. And everything was going swimmingly until the pandemic came. And then the pandemic, everything shut down. Nobody was wearing fragrance. I had to close my boutique. So that by that stage, I'd always written articles for magazines and so on. So this stage, I wrote my book called The Power of Perfume. And because of the COVID situation, people had lost their sense of smell.
Oh,
And a TV company, NBC TV, came to me and said, "Do you think you can help somebody who's lost their sense of smell, who has COVID anosmia, which means not being able to smell at all?"
mhm.
And I said, "I don't know, but I'll try." Anyway, I took this woman on a fragrance journey because I developed 18 different beautiful perfumes. She kept on smelling and sniffing and sniffing and smelling, couldn't do anything. And by the 14th one, she suddenly stopped and she started to cry. She said, "I smell something and it's beautiful." She had
Oh,
not been able to smell for 15 months.
oh,
Suddenly I was able, so that, changed the trajectory of everything. Companies contacted me to really talk about how to regain people's sense of smell, and a TV shows and contacted me. And so then 3 years ago I opened up a new boutique on Madison and 80th Street, and I've been creating fragrances for the world. So that's my journey over many, many years.
fantastic. I love that. I just love that. So, breaking down a few questions. Is there a process, which I don't want you to divulge any secrets, but is there a process in helping people who have lost their sense of smell, who might have low ability to discern smell?
Well, there are so many supposed processes or processes, sniffing kits and so on. But what I have discovered is that they all have very chemical kind of generic fragrances: lemon, vanilla, rose, eucalyptus. And truly, those are single notes. They're very single notes and they don't stretch the imagination. When you have complex fragrances or complex foods or complex anything that has multi sort of ingredients or multi-sensorial aspects, it stretches the brain. And so the fragrances that I developed when I started my fragrance customization business are very high-end complex, and they are not single notes. So the citrus fragrance would be a combination of lemon, orange, bergamot, grapefruit, mandarin. So you're smelling all these amazing citrus notes, and it's a burst of sunshine, it's a burst of energy, and your brain starts to go crazy thinking, what is it? Because our sense of smell is so connected to our limbic system. So without your sense of smell, there's also no sense of taste. So
Right.
it's a really awful, tragic situation when people become anosmic because they can't smell, they can't taste, and as a result, it affects their lifestyle. They don't want to go out and they don't want to socialize because everything we do around socialization revolves around food. Let's meet for lunch, for breakfast, for dinner, for parties. When people can't smell and they can't taste, they get really, you know, um, they get very, very upset, and their whole demeanor changes. Their disposition is not light and bright and wonderful. It becomes, they retract. And so what I have done is created these really amazing, beautiful perfumes, complex ingredients with many different notes in them. But the overall family might be a citrus family. The overall family for florals might be a floral family, but it could have rose and jasmine and gardenia and frangipani and cyclamen. So, your brain is trying to map out, what am I smelling? And so it forces the brain to work. And what my process is with my clients who are anosmic, I say to them, I want you to relax. I want you to shut off your phone, because we do a lot of Zoom sessions too, as well as people coming to meet with me. And I said, I want you to smell with your brain. And it's just amazing how you can see the brain wheels turning as they start to evaluate the fragrances. And invariably, it works. People have regained their sense of smell. It didn't work in 3 instances. And this was funny. Well, it's not that funny. I was in Florida, and somebody had contacted me and knew I was coming to Florida. And sadly, he had lost his sense of smell 15 years ago. He had had brain cancer. So he had this really sort of situation where his brain cells were fried. He couldn't smell anything. Now, I tried, but unfortunately, because of the situation, the brain cancer and the series of surgeries and brain things that had happened to his brain, he couldn't smell at all. So I wasn't able to help him. And then I had a couple come in, and this gorgeous, adorable couple. And I always say to my clients, I want you to concentrate and smell and concentrate on me and what I'm saying. And this young man who'd lost his sense of smell kept on looking at his gorgeous girlfriend, saying, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And he didn't concentrate. He didn't smell with his brain. He was directing his comments at her. So he didn't work. And then lastly, I had a guy, I called him Mr. Macho Man. He came into the boutique and he was very, macho. And he said, okay, what can you do for me? Okay, let's go. Let's get my sense of smell back. And he didn't do the work. He didn't put in the time. And so I couldn't connect with him. So that's it.
On their part, because it's such an important sense. It really is. I mean, how do you go through life without smelling? I mean, it's even dangerous. You can't smell smoke, you can't smell fire, you can't smell danger.
Yes.
There's certain things that you pick up on with your sense of smell.
Well, that's so true because, we're born from the second we're born, we smell. As babies and infants, we connect with our mothers, and infants can recognize their mothers just by their sense of smell and the relationship between the two of them through the olfactory system. So people don't think about it. We go through life not thinking about our sense of smell, not thinking about our sense of taste, just enjoying life. And there's even a little, the saying, stop and smell the roses. Well, people don't stop and smell the roses because they just go on with their life. And they don't realize how important it is until it's too late or until they've lost it. And when people lose their sense of smell, they go into such a depression. It's so sad because nobody thinks about it, because it's an automatic response. We're born with our sense of smell. We go through life not thinking, not being grateful for our sense of smell and our sense of taste, and just, going through life on a day-to-day basis. And then suddenly you can't smell. And suddenly something goes off. It's like, I can't smell the coffee. I can't smell vanilla. What's happened to my orange juice? I can't taste it. And suddenly they realize after maybe 2 or 3 days what is going on. And that's when they realize that, COVID affected them. So now, millions of people have lost their sense of smell, but nobody really thought about it until COVID, because that really unfortunately revealed how many millions of people became victims of COVID anosmia.
Is your business, do you advertise or do people know to come to you? They go to your website. Do you work with people? How would people find you?
Well, thank goodness for Google, and now thank goodness for ChatGPT, because people put in, either I want to create my own fragrance or I've lost my sense of smell, any of those little search terms, and invariably I come up. And I don't really advertise. I mean, I'm all over the internet on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and Twitter and X and all threads and all of them. But I don't advertise. My business is really very custom. It's very bespoke. And I want to create it as a way of helping people as opposed to, slapping my logo on the whole world, because I think that's too commercial. So it's really interesting how people have found me. And, with this whole chat GBT and AI and Google, it's fascinating how people do find me.
Absolutely. So you have good SEO, obviously. Search engine
I think
optimization.
so. I mean, look, I think, yeah, I think it can always be better, because people always say, oh, I wish I'd known about you earlier. But, I believe in when the timing is right, it happens.
Absolutely. So, if walk me through if somebody comes to you, they're looking for, say, a custom fragrance, and how does the process work? Do you ask them questions about, do they like florals? Do they like spice? Do they
Abs-
like what does, and then do you ask them what fragrances they have? Let's say I'm hypothetically your customer. What would it be like? Take us through that.
So, two ways. We can do it in person, and this is my boutique. If you see, this is my
Beautiful.
boutique in
It's like an
Madison.
apothecary for
Yes,
fragrance.
exactly. Sorry, it's it's charming, it's lovely. And then people can go online and take my scent quiz. So I have a scent quiz. If people want to go online and take it, they go to suephillips.com, and it's always with double L, suephillips.com. Scroll down and you'll see start the scent personality quiz. And what that does is it reveals your scent personality. In other words, I have some questions, sort of, what time of day do you like? What kind of foods do you like? What colors do you like? What seasons do you like? And there's only one fragrance question, which is, if you were to enjoy sniffing something, would it be an antique bookstore? Would it be, vanilla bread? Would it be the scent of the ocean? Would it be a beautiful rose flower? What would it be? And that's the only question that has a scent, reference. Otherwise, it's really all about the individual. And so once you take the scent quiz, I get the results either when you do it online or we meet in person. And then I go through all the fragrances. And I tell them that based on their scent personality, it reveals whether you like fresh or floral or woodsy or spicy. And that's a very easy way and an easy sort of fragrance families to relate to, because if I had to go through every single ingredient, it would be too complex and too overwhelming. So once we narrow it down to fresh, floral, woodsy, spicy, then I take you on a fragrance journey. And in person, I let you smell individually each fragrance. And then you select the 3 or 4 that you love. And then you select the atomizer, which is either something like this. Whoops, sorry, this is a
It's
screen
okay.
share.
Oh, it's like a lipstick. Okay. Uh-huh.
Yes, I have different size. Oh, what's going on here?
Here's because of the virtual background.
Oh, yes, sorry. Can you see me still?
I can see you, but maybe if you hold it closer to yourself.
Okay, so now I can't see myself. Let's see. Okay, okay. So
I
this
see it.
is,
You stopped. Here, I'm just gonna
and
pause
it
the
twists
record.
and swivels.
Okay, there you go.
So I have different, and you can go on the website and see them all. But then if we do it virtually and you take the scent quiz, based on your results from a scent quiz, I then identify the fragrances that you like, whether I would say that you are citrus and floral. That's what I would think.
Absolutely. You got that.
Because yeah, you're fresh, you're bright, you're vivacious. So I don't think you're into heavy spices or heavy woodsy fragrances. And so then I would then create a fragrance for you and ship it to you. I had a wonderful commentary.
You're freezing for some reason. I don't
And
know why. If you
I
back
do
up a
ask
little
people
bit, it
once they
doesn't
get,
freeze. Okay,
sorry about that. Is that
that's
better?
okay. Yeah.
Okay. A gentleman contacted me, took my scent quiz, and he said, I've been searching for a fragrance forever. And he told me which fragrances he liked. Very, obtuse fragrances, nothing's really commercial like Polo or Eau Sauvage or Le Labo or any of those. And I shipped it out to him. And I made this beautiful fragrance for him and shipped it to him. And he said he never got it. And I said, oh, goodness. Well, somebody stole it from his mail area. So I had to recreate it, send it to him. And he wrote to me and he put it on Yelp.com. He said, I've been searching for a fragrance for ages. And I finally got the fragrance I love. I just love it. In 2 days, 4 people said to him, what are you wearing? And I don't know this man. I've never met him. I just talked to him after he told me that he didn't get it. So I said, well, I'm so sorry. But I recreated the fragrance that I'd made for him originally. And, when I get calls like that, it just makes me so happy that I've been able to help somebody find and make a fragrance for him or her that they love. So it's really, it's very easy. If you meet with me in person, it takes about an hour and a half or 2 hours because I go through every fragrance with you and we talk about it and so on. If you do it online, you take the scent quiz, it takes 4 minutes, maybe less. I get the results and I see what you like. You might refer to other fragrances that you may have liked that have been discontinued, and I ship it out to you and off you go. And then you get your fragrance.
Sounds fantastic because fragrance is such an integral part of life. It just makes life that much better. It
Yes.
really does. I look at it like it's just a part of your overall person, it's your overall style. It's just part of what makes you uniquely you. You don't want to look like everybody else, and you definitely don't want to smell like everybody else. So,
And Susan, that's such a great point because there are all these market fragrances that become popular. Le Labo and Tom Ford and all these fragrances. And I say to people, why wear what everybody else wears when you can really reflect who you are and create your own? And there's nothing better than when you wear a fragrance that is created for you. And people say to you, what are you wearing when they hug you and they greet you? And it's such a confidence booster. People just, they stand up more taller, they smile, they're happy, they're confident. It's a fabulous situation when somebody says, what are you wearing? You smell great. And it's your fragrance. Nobody else in the world has it.
fantastic. So just open it up and we'll talk a little bit after. So if people want to get in touch with you, just go to SuePhillips.com, correct?
Yes, SuePhillips.com. And you can find me all over social media. I have 4 social media Instagram accounts. And that's a long story because I started with Scentfully Sue. People used to see me coming when Instagram first started, and I always signed my emails Scentfully Sue. So of course people say, "Oh, here comes Scentfully Sue." So I captured Scentfully Sue for Instagram. And then my company is Scent Enterprises. So I had to capture that. So that became Scentterprises. And then when I opened the boutique downtown, I called it the Centarium. Then when I closed it, people said to me, you know, Sue, you're the real deal. It should be Sue Phillips. Well, Sue Phillips was captured already. So I became the real Sue Phillips. And then finally, when I opened my boutique uptown, I changed the name from the Centarium to Sue Phillips Fragrance. We rebranded it. So I have Sue Phillips Fragrance, the real Sue Phillips, Scentfully Sue, and Scentterprises. So, just Google Sue Phillips Fragrance or fragrance customization and I'll pop up.
Absolutely. And tell us again where, if people are in the city, people are in New York, you're on 80th and Madison.
Yes, but it's by appointment, so people have to book an appointment because I really am not sitting. It's by appointment. It's not a walk-in store. It's always by, and the reason it's by appointment is because I want people to have the time to really explore, discover, and enjoy the scent experience, and not have people walking in and out and saying, "What's this and what's this and what's this size?" and so on. So it's really by appointment. So I'm not sitting there waiting for people to come in. We do it by appointment, and it's much better because people really love the individuality and their personal time to explore and discover fragrance.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for chatting with us today, Sue. Really incredible. I definitely want to try to create my own personalized fragrance. I've got some great ideas, and I'm sure you will. It's a symphony of fragrance, really.
Absolutely. And
Absolutely.
I'm so glad you said that because music and art are so tied in to fragrance, just the colors of in the color palette, what does yellow smell like? Well, yellow is bright and happy, and red is bold, and blue is calming. So I'm very much, you know, um, it's, I connect all the senses, and music can be vibrant and can be mellow and can be calming. So I love to do scent events, custom fragrance events with scent and art and music. We do scent dinners, we do corporate events and team building events. And I'm coming to Sarasota sometime in June. I'm talking to somebody and we're going to be doing a multitude of scent experiences, and I will let you know when I come.
Absolutely. I definitely want to join that. Absolutely. A
Yes.
thousand percent. A thousand
Mhm.
percent. This is Susan Short with FBTV bringing you Sue Phillips. Make sure to follow her on all social media, Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, and also online. And we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.